Hello, Ash here from acejapanese.com. Going to be doing an article read through about Ultraman. You can find a link to the article in the YouTube description box. Bit of a tricky one, I'd say. Like most of these articles meant for Japanese people, it's going to be around N2 or N1. But this is a good bit of pop culture. I mean, Ultraman has been around for a long time and it's a big deal in Japan, I'd say. I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like and a comment and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Just to get it to display a bit better on screen, I put this article into a Google Doc, but I haven't made any other changes to it. So let's go through this line by line. We won't be looking at everything in this article. If there's anything in particular in this article that you didn't understand, just leave a comment and I'll reply to it there. ウルトラマンシリーズを制作するSuburaya Production が a little bit tricky here, but this is the name of the production company that makes it, and this is a bit of it's a name, so it's a bit of a weird reading. Normally you read this as N and this is Tani, but this name is Suburaya, and it's the name of the guy who invented the production company. I looked up this name actually, and it turns out that this name is really common in Fukushima, which is a place up north of Tokyo, and also pretty common in Tokyo, but there's not many people with this name in Japan, and most of them seem to be concentrated in Fukushima. Seisaku suru is to produce or make something, right? So this production company that made the Ultraman series がストリーミングサービスの Netflix と共同でウルトラマンの CG アニメ長編映画ウルトラマンを制作中であることを発表しました。Alright, well, kyodo, this is just in collaboration with something. So this company and Netflix, streaming service Netflix, a Chohen Eiga is a feature film. So Ultraman is not a feature film normally, right? But they're making a feature film version of it. Or seisaku chu, right? We've talked about this in other videos actually, but this kanji chu, when it's used as a suffix and it's read as chu in this situation, means during. Okay, so seisaku is to make something, seisaku chu to be currently making something. All right, the other reading for this could be ju, but this means all over, and it doesn't really work with seisaku in the context, right? So you have to kind of make that decision yourself. De aru koto, so basically the fact that they are doing it. O happyou shimashita, they announced that they're doing this thing. There's a document here which is a bit of a press release. I'm not going to bother talking about that though. これまでも Netflix と円谷プロダクションはアニメシリーズのウルトラマンを共同制作しており、同作のシーズン2の制作も発表されています。このウルトラマンとは別の完全新作となる CG アニメ長編映画ウルトラマンの制作が発表されました。Alright, not much really different here. So これまでも so up until now, this Netflix and this Suburaya Production company have been making the anime series, okay? So this is different from the feature film, okay? So they've been making an Ultraman series already. All right, so they've already been doing this thing. We got a different seisaku this time, bit of a weird thing with this word seisaku. Anyway, so they've been producing this already. Dosaku, so the same production, you know, basically these companies have come together. So the same production, no season 2 seisaku, so that production of season 2 も発表されていますthere. They've announced, it's been announced as well. このウルトラマンとは別の完全新作となる, right? So this is a completely different thing from the animated series, and it's a CG anime, you know, computer generated anime feature length film, because Ultraman, you know, they can do it in live action as well, where they use actors in suits and things. So this is an animated one. 監督を務めるのはアカデミー賞2部門ノミネートの久保日本の弦の秘密. Alright, so kantoku, this is a director. Tsutomeru is like to serve as. So the person who's serving as the director wa Academy Show, alright, so the Academy Awards. And Nibumon is like 2 categories, alright? So it's been nominated for 2 categories, and it's this different anime, Kubo Nihon no Gen no Himitsu, which is translates something like Kubo and the 2 strings or something, just another animated show. De, so basically the person who's going to be doing this. Now, Gen-an is like the original draft, or tanto shita. So tanto is to be in charge of something. So we got this Shonen Tindall. Tindall. Shonen Tindall. Right, so this person is acting as the director. Now here, Kyodo Kantoku is like a joint director or co-director, okay? So they're both kind of jointly directing it. John Aoshima, I mean, Aoshima sounds a bit like a Japanese name to me. Kyakuhon wa Kubo Nihon no Gen no Himitsu de. So Kyakuhon is our screenplay, like the script. De Kyakuhon o tanto shita Mark Hames to Tindall desu, right? So again, the people who worked on the script for this Kubo show are going to be doing it for the Ultraman one as well. Producer wa Tomu Notto. Kyodo producer wa Lisa Pool, right? So the producer and like a co-producer is Tom Knott and Lisa Pool. 制作会社はSuburaya Production とインダストリアルライト&マジックが担当します。Alright, so again, we got this Ultraman production company and this Industrial Light and Magic who are co-producing. あらすじは以下の通り。あらすじ is just like the outline, plot outline. And 以下の通り, well, 以下 is like the below, and tori is, we talked about this in previous videos, but kind of following this. So basically the plot outline is going to be the following. So we got 野球界のスター選手. So a star athlete in the baseball world, Sato Ken. Now this is a, I mean, there's not really too much to read into this, but I think Sato is in the top 10 most common names in Japan, common surnames, and Ken would be right up there as a very common first name as well. So if you call your character Sato Ken, I don't know, to me this is an incredibly generic name. To me it's kind of like John Smith or something, but whatever. No, mo hitotsu no sugata, so it's another type of, another form of Sato Ken. それは地球を守るスーパーヒーロー, right? So he is a superhero who will protect the earth. Ultraman, called Ultraman. その役割, right? 役割 is a role, as in a role in a film or like a duty or something like that. Or 担うべく. So they kind of have to take on, it's kind of like, this beku is a bit of a moral duty, right? So you should kind of shoulder the burden of that role. Sato wa Nihon ni kikoku suru mo. So even when Sato goes back to Japan, modotte sugu ni, straight after he gets back, we got a shukuteki. Shukuteki, this is a bit of a superhero word, but it's like an arch rival, like an arch enemy. This guy who's always your enemy, right? 宿敵の子である赤ちゃん怪獣の養育を任されるという。Alright, so basically the child of his arch rival, a baby, a kaiju is a monster. And this is also what Godzilla is referred to as sometimes. It's kind of a big scary monster. And then yoiku is to kind of raise something, to bring up a child. O makasareru toyu. So this basically they're kind of saying that the story is going to be that the arch enemy of Ultraman somehow has a kid, and it's a baby monster, and it's kind of entrusted to Ultraman to raise this baby monster. Then we have omoi mo yoranai jitai ni. Now omoi mo yoranai means like a unexpected, and jitai is a situation, right? So omoi yoranai jitai ni. So it's kind of become an unexpected situation. チームの一員として、また新米パパとして奮闘しながら。Alright, so チームの一員, so as a member of a team, so obviously the baseball team. また新米パパ. Now 新米, this means new rice, but in Japanese this has this meaning of like being a novice or a rookie. So 新米 papa is like a new father, right? Someone who's because he's looking after this baby monster. として、and then 奮闘しながら。And 奮闘 is a bit of a battle, right? ケンは自分の中にあるエゴや疎遠になっている父。So Ken, obviously the guy we talked about earlier, 自分の中にある, so the thing that's inside him, ego, so his ego, や疎遠になっている父. Now 疎遠 is neglect, alright? So 疎遠になっている父, the father who abandoned him, 過激な怪獣防衛軍の台頭. 過激 is like an extreme, and 怪獣防衛軍, well, the 防衛軍 is a kind of self-defense force, self-defense corps or something, and 怪獣防衛軍, is a like monster self-defense force, right? You always, in these kind of superhero universes, you have to end up making some kind of self-defense force like this because of all the monster attacks you get. All right, so you need these guys, so like an extreme monster defense force. Taito means the rise or something, like the rise of a movement. To mukiai, and this is to kind of direct towards, to be aimed towards. Ultraman de aru koto. So basically the thing of Ultraman. Not honto no imi. So basically really understanding what it is to be Ultraman. Or
見出していきます。
So it's kind of like through this process, he kind of finds out what Ultraman really is. All right, so that was the arasuji. It's kind of the summary of what the feature film is going to be. So we'll actually look at the kind of behind the scenes of how this all came about. So 監督を務めるJlpt N3 は, so this director, この映画を作ることは, so as for making this film, 私の長年の夢でした.長年の夢 is a bit of a, I mean, if you look at the kanji, it's kind of self-explanatory, but it's like a cherished dream, right? A long-held dream. So this director is saying, well, this has been a lifelong dream of mine to make something like this. Suburaya Production. All right, he died, I think, he was born 1901, I think, and he died in the 70s. So, but his legacy still lives on. So, no, Ultraman ni taisuru, so in regards to Ultraman, 私の愛から生まれたオリジナルストーリーが. So he's kind of saying, like, he has love for the Ultraman show. Obviously, he grew up kind of watching it. So he has, from the love he has towards this show, that's really what this taisuru means. So from the love he has for this show, 生まれたオリジナルストーリー. He kind of birthed an original story. Okay, so he's kind of not just kind of coming to this series and he doesn't know what Ultraman is about. It's like, no, I have a real love for this show. And because I know about the show, know the lore, all that kind of stuff, from that, I've been able to create an original story. 幸運にも映画として実を結ぶことになりました。実を結ぶ, well, 実 means fruit. It can also mean truth, but here you read it as mi, and mi normally means fruit. And musubu means to join something. So mio musubu, we would just say bears fruit in English. And koto ni naru, I've done a whole video on koto ni naru, koto ni suru. You can see it up here. The idea is that, like, he's got this love for the show, and from that he's been able to make his own story. And at the same time, he's kind of saying, luckily, I've been able to kind of put these two things together, right? I've got a job to create a film, and I've got love for making such a film. And together, they've been able to bear fruit. Suburaya Production no katakata kara no suburashii shinrai to. So the amazing request, and I guess request here is kind of like, they asked him to collaborate, right? So the kind of honorable people from, I mean, they've taken a bit of liberties with this because he probably said this in English, and they've had to jazz it up a bit because he didn't, I don't know if he really said this, but anyway, this is kind of what you get with Japanese, with the keigo and stuff sometimes. But from the wonderful people who have given me such an amazing request, Netflix Animation Bumon, so the Netflix animation division, no minasan no sapoto ni, also with the support of people from there, kokoro kara kansha shite imasu. I'm grateful from like the bottom of my heart. 優れたメンバーが揃った私たちチームの斬新な So 優れたメンバーが So all these kind of amazing people 揃った私たちチーム So we've all kind of come together, and it's all kind of like, it's not I mean, soro is like to line up or to kind of come forward, whatever, but it's kind of saying, all these people have been gathered together for this project. And then we got 斬新なウルトラマン現代を. So a novel approach to like the origin story of Ultraman.
世界中の視聴者に
お届けできる日。
世界中の視聴者
The people who all around the world who watch Ultraman にお届けできる日. So when we can deliver this to the kind of fans を楽しみにしています. I'm looking forward to it と語っています. This is what he said. 2021年で55周年を迎えたウルトラマンにとって So as we're coming up to the 55th anniversary of Ultraman, 初の全世界に向けて本格的に展開される作品となるということで So for the first time they want to get like a real they want to present like a real Ultraman, which is like a truly global Ultraman, like an internationalized Ultraman for the international audience. With this in mind, Suburaya Production no. Now this is another name here. So we've got Kaicho on the end, and this is like the head of a board, right? So, Suburaya Productions is a proprietary limited company or whatever. So they've got a board of directors, and then they've got this guy. And this guy's name is Tsukagoshi Takayuki. So the kind of CEO basically はウルトラマンはこれまで多くの人たちを魅了してきました. Alright, so 魅了 is like charm or fascination. So basically up until now, many people have been interested in or fascinated with Ultraman. Shonen Tindall shi. Alright, so notice here we got our shi rather than sun, all right? And it's kind of an interesting choice here, actually, but it's mainly because these two companies have kind of come together to produce Ultraman. So from their point of view, they're like both part of their own in-groups now. They're kind of joined together. And so when Tsukagoshi-san, Tsukagoshi Kaicho, I guess, talks about the kind of other people involved in the same project, because they're part of his in-group, that means when he talks about it to outsiders, so for example, when he's giving an interview like this or talking about it, he can't really speak honorifically about them because they're part of his in-group. And so in that case, you use she to, it's still a mark of respect. I mean, this she gets translated as Mr., but it's a little bit more neutral. It's kind of an interesting choice of words. I mean, you could get away with saying son here, but this is probably more correct from a keigo perspective. All right, so anyway, this guy, this director, もその一人です. Okay, so they're kind of saying, look, he's not just some random guy. He's a guy that was picked mainly because he loves Ultraman so much. He's amongst these people, right? All these people around the world who've kind of come to love Ultraman. He's one of those guys. 彼は子供の頃から so this Shonen Tindall guy from the time he was a kid or a child, ウルトラマンに大きな影響を受けて育ち. So he was kind of influenced very heavily when he was growing up from Ultraman. そしてクリエイターになったとお聞きしています. Alright, it's kind of interesting as well. So basically, because he grew up like loving Ultraman, it kind of inspired him to become they call it a creator, but to become a director. And it turns out that this guy has a bit of a background in animation. So he kind of put the seed in his mind that, hey, I want to kind of become a person who produces a show like Ultraman in the future. And we've got another version of our Kenjogo here. So what you can do, there are a certain amount of verbs in Japanese which have special forms for the Kenjogo and Sonkeigo and stuff like this. But all the other verbs, you just do this. So you basically take the verb. So we got the verb in here, right? It's kiki. All right. And this comes from kiku, which is to hear something. And so you make the verb stem. I've done videos on this in my beginner playlist if you want to know what that is. But for our u verbs, we basically change the ku to a E sound, so ku goes to ki. And then after that, we put like the honorific o in front of it. And then you put, here it's in the what's called the progressive tense, but you can just put suru. Okay, so okiki suru, this is kenjogo, a tumble speech. So you're talking about stuff that you do or people in your in group do. So, and then we got our quoting to particle. So in the end, I mean, really all of this is kind of a quote, right? All the way down to here. So this Tsukagoshi-san, the Kaicho guy, and this Shonen Tindall guy have actually met and talked. And then Shonen Tindall said to him, hey, you know, when I was a kid, Ultraman had such a big influence on me. It made me want to become an animator, made me want to be a creator. And so this is why the Kaicho is saying, hey, this is what he told me. You know, I heard it from him. Okay, so it's just a bit of use of kenjogo there. So 今度は世界中の子供たちが so this time to all the kids of the world, Netflix を通じて so kind of using the medium of Netflix, going through Netflix, Shannon のウルトラマンを見て they'll watch Shannon's Ultraman, 勇気と希望と思いやり. Now, yuki, this is courage. Kibo is like hope. And omoyari is like thoughtfulness or consideration. No kimochi o hagukunde moraetara ureshii desu. To katarimashita. It's a bit of a tricky word, actually. It's pretty similar. I mean, we can see it's up here, but these are slightly different verbs, but kind of essentially they mean the same thing. It means to raise or foster or nurture something. So, because, you know, kids will watch this and then it'll kind of foster these feelings of courage, hope, and consideration or thoughtfulness. And if basically, I mean, we got this te form plus moraeru, all right? We're still saying like, if I could receive the favor of kids of fostering these feelings, mention these kind of qualities in kids, ureshii desu, I'll be happy. Okay, so it's kind of like talking about the legacy of Ultraman, right? To katarimashita. Now, another thing about Ultraman is that this is a huge show in Japan, but it hasn't quite got international acclaim like most other, like for example, like Godzilla, Pokemon. There's other much bigger franchises that have had a lot more international success. Ultraman hasn't quite had that, although it is very big in Japan. So this is kind of, they're trying to get this out into the broader society through Netflix this time, but it is huge. And there's just so many shows that kind of borrow from this. You know, obviously Power Rangers and you got Kamen Rider. There's all these kinds of shows which are, I don't know, to me they're all kind of similar, but I mean, I don't really know that much about them, to be honest, but anyway, they're trying to get that out there as well. All right, guys, that's it from me. I hope this video was helpful to you and that you learned something. And if you did, I'd really appreciate a like on the video and a share to any friends and a comment or a subscribe if you're feeling generous. Otherwise, check out my website. You can see it's down below, acejapanese.com. I post weekly blogs there about Japanese language learning techniques, little tips and tricks that I picked up along the way. So if you're wanting to improve your Japanese, tidy up some parts of your Japanese, have a check out of that website. I've got lots of materials on there for you to do so. You can also contact me through the contact page and organize personal lessons one-on-one. We do them through Zoom. They're kind of similar to how these videos would be, but of course you can ask me questions and we can work on material that you want to do or look at schoolwork, things like that. And it doesn't matter what your level is. If you're just starting out with Japanese and you've got no idea, or if you think you're pretty accomplished with Japanese but just need those little extra tips and tricks, just send me an email or send a request through the contact form, and we can do a bit of a roadmap lesson and improve that way. So you can learn from the comfort of your own home, and I set homework and all these kinds of things if that's what you want as well. But check out the rest of my YouTube videos if you want an idea of what the lessons will be like. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ne!